This is a brief video clip from a conference event recorded at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., with speakers including America's 75th Attorney General, the Honorable Edwin Meese III, Honorable Becky Norton Dunlop, Natasha, Srdoc, Judge Henry Saad, and Joel Anand Samy. For the entire video, please visit Adriatic Institute's YouTube page.
Thank you. Well, I'm pleased to bring to the podium now the 75th Attorney General of the United States of America, who not only was a tremendous leader in the cabinet of President Ronald Reagan in terms of the justice in our own country, but actually became an international leader in terms of raising the standards and talking to people about the importance of the rule of law and the independent judiciary. General Ed Meese.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be with you. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here for the whole meeting this morning, the whole conference, but I did want to have the chance to be here, and just particularly to commend the people that are here speaking with you, and particularly Natasha and Joel, on what they have done with the Adriatic Institute and the leadership that they've given on a very important topic. We spend a lot of time here at Heritage, particularly our legal center, on constitutionalism, the rule of law, and the kinds of things that you've been talking about this morning. And I'd just like to mention just a couple aspects of this. The Constitution of the United States was a totally new idea when it was developed in 1787 and ratified in 1789. And the idea of having a written constitution was something totally new in the world. And as somebody has said in commenting on it, there were a lot of lawyers in the room and they wanted to get it in writing. And so, but that was an important thing, because it was in fact a written compact, if you would, between the people who had gone through a great deal of suffering under the wrong kind of government, which led, of course, to the War for Independence. And so they wanted to be sure that they were able to have a government that would not oppress the people, as the King George and the royal governors had for so many decades. And so it was important to have a constitution that did something that they felt was the key to keeping the people from being oppressed. And that was that they would get control of the power of government. And they did it in two ways, or a number of ways actually, but one particular way was to diffuse the power. As you know, they diffused it between the states and the central government by specifying with particularity what the powers of the federal government really were, and that the rest of governmental power was left to the states. And then they divided power horizontally by having the three separate and independent branches. And then the Constitution then, in writing, specified this and many other features, the principles for operating the government in a way that preserved the freedom and liberty of the people. And then the other thing that they did was to have an independent judiciary, and the independent judiciary being separate from the other two branches, the parliamentary or congressional branch and the executive branch, so that it would fairly rule on the interpretation of the Constitution. And I know you've talked this morning about an independent judiciary and how important that is, and a judiciary that has sufficient power and sufficient status among the people so that it can carry out this responsibility. I would like to add one other aspect, which Joel has just been talking about, and that is one of the functions of government, its principal function really, is to preserve the liberty of the people, the safety of the people, both against foreign forces that would endanger the national security, but also it's the function of government at all levels to protect the people in their safety and to provide for the rule of law being enforced in a fair and uniform manner, and where it can protect the people against two types of situations. Those aspects of government itself which would in any way interfere with the liberty of the people, and secondly, those private actors, if you will, that would endanger the operations, the freedom of the people to be free, particularly in their persons, free in terms of public safety, and also free in terms of economic freedom from those who, through corruption or crime, would in any way keep people from being able to act fairly and to be treated fairly and safely within the economic matters. And that's why the work that the Adriatic Institute has particularly emphasized the things that you heard about this morning in terms of crony corruption, in terms of governmental corruption, in terms of criminal activity, particularly in terms of the market and in terms of economic affairs. These are the kinds of things that they are seeking, as you've heard, to wipe out and to encourage governments to fairly operate and to operate in a way which takes away the potential for corruption and for economic crime and those things which are the antithesis of a free market and a free economy. And so I just wanted to be here to for a few minutes just to congratulate them on what they're doing, to mention that those of us in the United States are very supportive of what they're doing, because we see it as a continuation and extension of what was started in our country 2 centuries ago, and in which the governments and the people of free countries have a duty and a responsibility to support those who are working to perfect freedom and liberty in the countries, particularly in the post-Cold War period. So I thank them for what they're doing. Thank you for being with the group this morning here, and and particularly encourage them to go forward with the knowledge that here at Heritage, particularly, we fully support what you're doing, and we consider it a privilege to work with you in expanding freedom, free markets, and the rule of law throughout the world. Thank you.
This is a brief video clip from a conference event recorded at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., with speakers including America's 75th Attorney General, the Honorable Edwin Meese III, Honorable Becky Norton Dunlop, Natasha, Srdoc, Judge Henry Saad, and Anand Samy. For the entire video, please visit Adriatic Institute's YouTube page.